After a few drinks, they started making out. Things got hot and heavy, and she asked Rory, "What's with the finger in the ass?" To which Rory replied, "It's my ass. I don't do what I want with it."
Hey!
Yeah, Rory!
So I always thought that as young men, if we put a fraction of our sexual prowess or ambition towards something more permanent and productive, that we'd all be richer, or more stable, or more dynamic in far less time than it's taken us. And yet somehow Robbie Burns managed to move back and forth between his passions and desires and his ability to write, express, and influence, eventually becoming Scotland's favourite son. The only way I became favourite son was by default. After both my brothers left the country.
I'll be back soon.
It is quite the feat, though, when you consider the number of women mentioned in Burns' life. There was Annie, Peggy, Eliza, Kate, Nancy, Cloris, Nell, and Jean. And these, of course, like any good black book, are only the ones we know about. Burns also had 12 children born to him by 4 different women, which is no small feat in his time or ours. I'm sure there's a few people here who would appreciate him as a client. But his love of the Lassies was not kept for those in high fortunes. Burns had harbored a jealousy of those richer than him. It was said that when he had selected anyone to pay attention to, she was instantly invested with a sufficient stock out of the plentiful stories of his imagination. In his own words, he wrote, "My heart was completely tender and was eternally lighted up by some goddess or other. And in every other warfare in this world, my fortune was various. Sometimes I was received with favour, and sometimes mortified with repulse." I went looking and found some more modern poetry between a man and a woman. Here's a woman's poem. "Before I lay me down to sleep, I pray for a man who's not a creep. One who's handsome, smart, and strong, one who loves to listen long. One who thinks before he speaks, one who'll call, not wait for weeks. I pray he's rich and self-employed, and when I spend, won't be annoyed. Pull out my chair and hold my hand, massage my feet and help me stand. Will send a king to make me queen, a man who loves to cook and clean. I pray this man will love no other, and relish visits with my mother." The man's poem. "I pray for a deaf, mute, gymnast, nymphomaniac. Big boobs, who owns a bar and a golf course. And loves to send me fishing and drinking. This doesn't rhyme and I don't give a shit." Burns was perhaps a bit more eloquent when he wrote "Green Grow the Rashes." And it's not a song about neglected STDs. Green grow the rashes, the green grow the rashes, the sweetest hours that ever I spent are spent among the lasses. There's naught but care in every hand and every hour that passes. What signifies the life of man, and for nay for the lasses. The warily race may riches chase, and riches still may fly them. And though at last they catch them fast, their hearts can ne'er enjoy them. But give me a canny hour, team my arms about my dearie, and warily cares, and warily men may a gay tap saltery. Oh, for you say dousey, sneer at this, you're naught but senseless asses. Well, the wisest man the world e'er saw, he dearly loved the lasses. Old nature swears the lovely dears, her noblest work she classes. For her prentice hand she tried on men, and then she made the lasses. In this poem, Burns not only holds women with the higher honour, but shares with us how the happiest hours and most joyful times we have should be spent with the company of the opposite sex. If this is only true for the man and woman who've never met before, and found themselves in the same sleeping carriage of a train. After the initial embarrassment, they both managed to get to sleep, the woman on the top bunk, the man on the lower. In the middle of the night, the woman leans over and says, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm awfully cold. Could you possibly pass me another blanket?" The man leans out and with a glint in his eye says, "I've got a better idea. Let's pretend we're married." "Why not?" giggles the woman. "Good," he replies. "Get your own blanket." But despite all his philandering and promiscuity, even Robert Burns eventually settled down to marry. He met Jean Armour in 1786, who bore him twins before marrying in 1788. They have a total of 9 children, 3 of which survived Jean. Jean was described as a generous, accommodating woman with a clear singing voice. While not her husband's intellectual equal, she was willing to put up with his wildest extravagancies. If only we could all be so lucky. Perhaps one of his most famous works regarding Jean is Of all the arts the wind can blow. Of all the arts the wind can blow, I dearly like the west. For there the bonny lassie lives, the lassie I love best. There's wildwoods grow and rivers grow and mony a hill between. But day and night my fancy's flight is ever with my Jean. I see her in the dewy flowers, I see her sweet and fair. I hear her in the tuneful birds, I hear her charm the air. There's not a bonny flower that springs by fountain, shaw, or green. There's not a bonny bird that sings but minds me of my Jean. If that doesn't get you laid, I don't know what will. Anyways, birds aside, I'm sure I speak for us all when I say that we treasure the love that our women share with us throughout our lives, that we are so very grateful. If you'd all please be upstanding and join me in a toast to Lassies.
Aye. Cheers. We toast too much to the Lassies.